you so much for joining me in today's live. My setup, fair warning, is a little different. My nanny is not able to come in today, so I have a child over here somewhere. So I will focus today's live on answering all of your questions and will be here for as long as I can. My intention is to be here for at least an hour every Tuesday. Oh wow, what is that? Oh, that is weird. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't know where that was coming from, but I'm here. Hi, Luciana. Thank you for being the first person to drop a comment. So if you are tuning in for the first time, my name is Holly. I come from a software, hardware, and embedded recruiting background. In the last 20 years, I've worked for almost, if not all of the major big companies. And my passion is to help you land a job in technology companies specifically. Now, I know all of you guys are only interested in Amazon because literally all of my messages is surrounded around Amazon. And I kind of became the Amazon interview coach overnight. That is not the fact. I do not want to claim credit for that. Let's be very clear. My training and my live session, please take it as a grain of salt. And you could use that with all the other employers in or outside of Amazon. We're good? Okay. And if this is your first time tuning in, make sure you subscribe to my channel and on my business page. The link is in all of my video. It's halsey.com. If you sign up or subscribe to my update, I'll send you a notification generally the night before my next stream or free training. So there's a lot of stuff in the work that I've been working on. I get a lot of requests with reviewing LinkedIn profile, resume, mock interviewed, just to give you a couple examples. So if you don't want to miss out in those training, make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel as well as my business page, okay? So let's get started. I'm very excited. Oh, thank you, Luciana. And as always, I appreciate feedback and all of your messages. Thank you so much, by the way. You are allowing me to create the content that you would want to watch, okay? YouTube reward myself and all the content creator by you just being here and hanging out with me and engagement. So yes, I will take all questions all day long, at least until my kid is screaming in the background. Let's get started, okay? Okay, I'll give you guys a moment to drop in your questions and I will answer them as an order as they're coming in. But very quickly, let me just jump in and give you, one of the ultimate tip that I have been preaching in my previous leadership principle videos. If you guys are having an interview, which you are, and you're not ready for the on-site or technical phone screen, I know this because I read your messages. I may not respond to all of you guys in a timely manner, but please do me a favor, cancel that interview if you're not ready, okay? If you can't ask yourself why you want to work for that specific role and team at Amazon, then why are you interviewing? Amazon or not, you have one shot to impress the interviewer. And if you, not on wood, let's say that you don't make it through the interview process, right? You're going to be stuck in their ATS system, which is applicant tracking system, for us forever, unless they're migrating to a different platform and they have no way to migrate the data over, right? So you don't want to be the one professional where you've applied to 50 jobs or have filled like multiple positions, because recruiters and hiring managers do look at that when they're reviewing your applicants, okay? Again, I have to repeat myself because I've had so many of you guys reach out to me and asking me to coach you for your interview that's happening literally the next day. That's not going to happen. Even if I have the bandwidth to help you by jumping in with my private coaching, I wouldn't do it because I don't want, I know that within an hour or 2 hours, within that 1 day time, you will be so overwhelmed with the information that I'm giving you with mock interviewed. I need you to be yourself and understand your personal brand and how you create your story. Okay? So if you're reaching out at least to someone like me, there is no way that I could help you within the 1 hour that you want me to help you the day before your interview. Okay? I have to preach. I feel like I need to do that. Okay. Let's start with some of the questions. Okay. Let's start with Amos. Mo says, let me put it here so you guys can see the question. Mo says, how would you prep for a learn and be curious question? Now, I think I made a video about that. I'm not sure if I didn't. I will be, because that's also one of my favorite. Learn and be curious, really, you need to demonstrate a time where you are in, let's say, a new project would be actually a really good example, or you've joined a new team. Basically, it's a new environment or scope for you, okay? Rather than sitting back and waiting for your superior or someone, your cross-functional partner, to tell you exactly what to do, what is your initiative? What did you do to learn how to deliver without anyone holding your hand or telling you what to do? So learn and be curious is an opportunity for you to take initiative in learning the process or what it takes in order for you to deliver the end result. And let me give you an example. And I don't know your background, so if we're in my weekly coaching session, then I would give you a specific example to your position title. But let's just say a great example I can give you was most recently, I was actually at Facebook. We went through several reorg. The most recent one was I end up doing just research, software engineering, hiring my team to owning all of like OS, all of AR, VR, computer vision, and artificial intelligence. So a lot of the new business that I've integrated are not even familiar with the technology along with the recruiting team. So rather than sitting back and waiting for my hiring manager to say, hey, Holly, where's the body? I need to launch the next Rift S as an example, right? And I don't have the people to help me build. I went ahead and dig up the research, leverage my team into putting a training program together to train all of the recruiter that are in that specialized software engineering team, and rather than waiting for something to happen, right? That's a perfect example that's learn to be curious. I'm learning to influence with a large audience. At the same time, I'm trying to teach my team, my peer, and my business so that we're all on the same page. That's an excellent example for learn to be curious, bias for action, deliver result, customer obsession. I think you guys got the gist here, right? So when you're carving in your story, be very mindful to hit a number of different leadership principles and not just one, okay? Let me know if I've answered your question, Osmos. Okay, let's move on here. Sorry, give me a second, guys. Let me make my screen bigger. Let me do this. Okay, let's go with Luciana. Luciana says, I've had 3 phone interviews for different recruiter positions. Oh, you're a recruiter. At Amazon, but didn't pass any of them. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Well, first, did you ask for feedback? I know that oftentimes we're not supposed to give exact feedback, but another tip that I have worked with my client is, because it's virtual or video interview right now, when you're interviewing, you could also record the interview yourself, right? Just use your iPhone and press the memo to record so that you can learn from it. Sometimes we don't know our areas of improvement until we are listening to ourselves and how we do. And ask yourself, think about the question that was asked. And this is not just for a recruiting position, this is for all role, right? What type of questions are asked and how did you answer it during that time? And my kid is pulling my strength. Parker, give Mama a second, okay? I love you. Okay, you want to say hi really quick? Okay. Say hi really quick. Look, you're going live. Yay! Okay. Yay! Okay. Yay. Go to Abby, please. Go to Abby. I love you. Okay, love you. I'm going to try and cut that part out of the video. Okay, let's get back. So I would, if you don't have any feedback from the recruiter, I would think back of areas where you could improve on. Most likely, follow your guts. That would be the answer that you're looking for. Okay, and try to do better in the next interview, even if it's within Amazon or outside of Amazon. Okay, and also there are times that even if you don't get the position, it's not always you. It could also be the employer. It may not be the right position for you. There's a number of different reasons as well. Okay, all right. If you applied several times to the same position and you couldn't pass, I would say don't apply to the same company anymore. Pause for a second. If we haven't already connected with me on LinkedIn, and let me make a couple recommendations for you because I want to get through all of the questions today. There may be something there that could help you brand yourself better or highlight your skill to answer the question. Again, this is not just for Amazon, but this is for all companies, okay? All right. Sajid, okay. Hey Sajid. Sajid says, hi, thanks for the nice video. Next week, I have a final interview for junior logistic manager, area manager in Germany. Oh, hey, Germany's in the house. Because of the current situation is 3 interviewers, 30 minutes, video interview. Wow, that's really short. On Chime, any tip? Okay, first of all, Amazon's hiring crazy for operation and logistic because there's so many of you coming to me. I would say first go check out my very first video. It's called Video Interview Strategies and Tips. I talked about how you could show up more confident and be prepared. I also talk on very high level what type of research you should do, right, in creating your story. So watch that video. And if I were to give you any tip at all, my customer obsession in my Amazon leadership playlist, it is the #1 most important video because everything starts with answering with a customer in back of your mind. Okay, do that and let me know how that goes. You should be fine if you're interviewing for area manager position. That means you must come from some type of logistic operation or fulfillment background. Okay, you just need to remember to have fun while you're interviewing. Okay. Let's go with Emron. Hi, Emron. Imran says, hi, Holly. I don't have specific example to relate to with the leadership principles. How do you go in relating to it? That's an excellent answer. Okay. If you can't come up with example relating to the leadership principle, first of all, I don't believe that. I don't believe you, even though I know nothing about you. A lot of the professionals seem to overthink the leadership principle. #1, if you don't know the leadership principle well, you are done. Amazon live and breathe in those core value. So when you're creating your story, you have to think about a time where, for example, think of a time where you went above and beyond to help a customer. That's it, right? If you can't give me that example, that means you don't have it or you haven't done it, right? Then you may want to gain some of those experience before you interview for a company like Amazon. Okay, I'm pretty sure if you're in the industry for at least several years, you would have some kind of story, right? Another example is, Amran, tell me about a time where you have failed. What did you learn from there? What was the situation? How did you come out of that, right? I mean, you have to. I have so many times in my career, right? Just think about if you're struggling, don't try so hard and think about the perfect example. List 3, and in all of my video, I mentioned 2 to 3 examples per each leadership principle, and here's why. You need to pick the best one. When you first do it, it's like writing a proposal or an essay, right? The first draft. The first draft is usually not the one you want to submit. So when you look at all of your 2 to 3 examples, pick the best one that you feel most proud of, and that's probably the one that is more relevant to the Amazon environment. Okay? Leave me a comment. Let me know if that have answered your question. Okay? Let's go with Nupar. Nupar says, I have my second telephonic, you're so proper, I love that. I have my second telephonic interview with Amazon for a business analyst role. What kind of questions should I be expecting given it's an entry-level position? Excellent. So for any junior or mid-level position, normally they're not looking at you to save the world. They're looking at you to at least know the foundation, okay? This is for all level. So if this is a junior position, know what a business analyst does. Again, customer obsession, right? Customer, customer, customer all day long. Demonstrate who are your customers? Who did you help your customer, either internal or external user? what kind of work do you do? How do you collaborate with them? How do you deliver results? I'm sure you have, right? I'm sure you have. Don't think so deep in the specific questions relating to business analysts versus learn about yourself, okay? If you take a look at my video, and I know I have at least 2 questions for IC, which is individual contributor, and 2 for leadership. If you look at that on the IC side, right? I know that some of my questions are something along the line of, tell me a time that you have invented processes or something of your own. Basically, that's invent and simplify, right? That could also be ownership, deliver result, and so on and so forth. So you need to be able to create story. The first thing, if you're really stuck, give me 3 highlights. They don't need to be perfect. Just write it on a piece of paper, okay? What have you done that makes you unique as a business analyst, okay? And out of those 3 examples, break it apart. What makes you stood out in your role? What have you done that leverage your partnership with your peers? Do you work with cross-functional peers? And you need to know your customer. Who are your customer? As a business analyst, depending on the company, your customer could be a number of different org or team, right? Talk about that. So start creating your story by peeling the onions, okay? My star video, if you haven't already, you have to watch that. I'm sorry, my first 2 video is the worst video of all. I only have 30 of them. But if you ignore my eye contact, ignore my audio, the content is really good. I also have a personal template that I went in there and I fill it out. So go download that. There should be a link in all of my video. Download the star template. So follow my guidance, right? I actually list out every single thing that I do step by step. What is the situation? What is a task? What problem are you trying to solve? And what is the result? Okay? It doesn't matter what level you are, just follow the step. Okay? And let me know how that goes. Send me a message on LinkedIn if we're not already connected. Okay, let's go with Kanak. Hi, Holly. Thanks for your video. It's great. My question is, what exactly to ask or know for the team matching interview? What do you mean by team matching interview? Like, are there any specific questions I should ask? One of my clients actually asked me this yesterday. Yes, great answer, great question. So what I typically ask, and I'm just going to tell you guys, and you know, if you follow my channel or come to my live section, I'm very transparent. There's no sugarcoating. What I generally ask in a job interview is, for instance, can you tell me more about your team environment? Or in your case, technical environment, right? What is your expectation in this role? If you are, and what position are you? And do me a favor, guys, when you're putting your question, can you also list down what position you're interviewing for? So when I'm giving you a response, it's more relevant to you, okay? So make sure you ask questions to learn more about the scope of the project. What is the expectation, especially when that is the hiring manager or even like a bar raiser. For a bar raiser, one of the great questions is, what do you see as success being in this role since you've been with Amazon for so long, right? Another one of my favorite is you have a mix of peers, a bar raiser, and your hiring manager. That's how the loop usually is constructed. Again, Amazon and also other companies as well, right? So learn from those individuals once you know what position they are. Ask questions that's relevant, right? If I'm a PM and I have a PM even more senior than I am interviewing me, I would say any advice to someone who is new to Amazon with your background. You know, how did you get started that made you so successful? Okay, so I would ask questions along that's relevant to the role that you are applying to. Okay, Mingfei, hi Mingfei. Mingfei says, I have a question from recent interview. Tell me a time when you have a big conflict with your manager. How do you solve it? This is also disagree and commit, and having backbone, disagree, and commit. Okay, Let's see. Tell me a time when you have a big conflict with your manager and how do you solve? First of all, you have to have, if you don't have an example where you and your manager don't see eye to eye, you could absolutely give an example even with your peers. Okay. If you don't have it, what about with your customers? And if you have never experienced this at all, it's not a really good thing. Amazon likes to hire individuals that have gone through hurdles in order to get their work done. That is the environment because at Amazon, you're solving complex problem every single day, right? So they're looking for people who are fast problem solver, which means there's opportunity that you will make mistakes, okay? And how do you come about in earning other people's trust in order to execute? Okay, so think about one of the example where you are not seeing eye to eye with your internal or external customer if you don't have that with your hiring manager. Okay, and if you absolutely do not have any of those experience at all, generally those are new grads, interns, or junior position. Even so, if you are, let's just say that you don't have any true industry experience yet, even in academia, I'm pretty sure you don't see eye to eye with your professor, right? Or your colleagues, right? So there's a lot of ways you can play around with that, okay? Let me know how that goes. Okay, Vineet. Vineet says, what if one doesn't have an example of failure in the project and question is asked on those lines? The one thing, Vineet, and everyone who is here, I got to be really honest with you guys. Of all the companies I've worked for, big or startup, most recently I was a principal consultant for 2 startups, and I have seen the Loop not inclined to hire someone even though they have all the right experience because they don't have a time where they have failed. Okay, a failure doesn't mean that you break things and things fall apart. Everyone should have an area where they wish they could have done better. Even if you don't consider yourself failing, think about a situation or a time where it was your idea or your team's idea, and after the fact you saw a better way of executing, and if you could go back in time, you wish you would have done that. That's also a great experience if you truly do not have an example where it was your idea, your ownership, you're implementing a project and you wish you could have understand the customer better rather than giving them a plan that would cost the customer more time in the end or have a lot of errors, right? It could be someone else's idea, but you saw an opportunity to be better or improvement and you didn't voice your opinion. That's also a great example, okay? If you don't have one where you took the ownership or initiative of, I hate using the word failure when things didn't work out. What about a time that you were involved in the project? It was someone else's idea. You could have done something about it and you didn't. Okay? You could go around that route as well. All right. Okay. Hey, Sung Lee. Yeah, please do tell me what position you're interviewing for. And I also would love to see where you guys are dialing in from. Okay, what city or country you guys are coming in from. Okay, Sung says, how long should it be the leadership principle answer? Should I give it a short 2-minute answer, then answer follow-up questions, or should I give it a long, no, not 5 minutes. Okay, first of all, let's be very clear that our human spam is no more than 10 seconds, okay? So go check out my very first video. It's a 60-second elevator pitch. And the reason why I chose that as my first YouTube video is the importance of cutting it to 1 minute. Unless you are like an executive or in a leadership position and you have an amazing story to tell, sure, go 2 minutes. But in general, anything more than a minute is a lot. You don't want to put the interviewer to sleep. You want to give them enough information of creating the content, highlighting what problem that you were solving, and also what is the end result to that. And let them ask probing question. But every time when you guys answer a question, keep it to a minute or less. And I know some of you will say, Holly, it's impossible to answer in a minute or less. I know this because a lot of my director of engineering challenged me on that. But guess what, folks? When we start our mock interview, I'll have my clients go first. and they give me like a 5 minute or sometimes 15 minutes answer. It's my turn now, and I know nothing about their background. I basically repeat what they just told me in less than a minute. It is possible, okay? That's why writing down your story in the star format, let it be lengthy. If you want to fill the whole page, go for it, but cut it down, okay? If you listen to like the STAR and all of those area, one sentence, two at the most, okay? Go down, chop, 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 and then end it with a very nice result, okay? Does that answer your question? Okay, let's go here. Sorry, guys. It jumped on me. Okay, we have Morello. Hey, Morello. Morello says, I just wanted to say thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Help me a lot. I got an internship position at Amazon this summer. Yay! Woo-hoo! I love it. Love it. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate if you can give in. Let's go with Vignesh. Vignesh says, appreciate if you could give an insight of how many stories I might need to prepare. If I were you, I would give 2 stories per each leadership principle. You don't have to do all 14, okay? I talked about that in my Amazon leadership principle. If you don't know which one you should and you shouldn't, the reason why I did the top 8, those are the ones that would absolutely be asked, okay? Again, this is not just for Amazon. If you create your story around the 8 that I have on my playlist already, which is customer obsession, dive deep, think big, ownership, having backbone, disagree, and commit, insist on highest standard, earn trust, like those, all the company will be asking you the same thing. The Amazon principle philosophy is so powerful that a lot of the major company and startup, I don't want to use the word following it, but they are almost duplicating it without calling it think big and dive deep. Okay? A lot of them have very similar core value and they call it moving fast, right? Or they call it like earn trust or ownership. If you walk into a corporation, you could see it says bias for action. So they will use the exact same core value as Amazon. So create your story around the researches that I have already done for you and the questions are already there. You just have to start, okay? Start, tear it apart and make it better. All right? Blanken. Hey, Blanken. Blanken says, I have been going through my stories and have ranged from 90 to 120 seconds. Are these stories too short? No, I think I just answered your questions. Make sure your story is 60 seconds or less if possible. I would say no more than a minute. If you're gonna talk for 2 minutes, it better be darn good. Okay, you better be saving the world somewhere, international, and everything fall apart and you came in like a Superman with a cave and you put out the fire. Like that, right? So keep it to a minute or less if you can. Just start taking things out, okay? Mengfi, oh hi. Hey, Eric. Hi, Eric. Great that you're here. I was interviewing and got Phil last week, and now the recruiter has gone silent on helping for other roles. Do you have any tips to get back on track? Well, Eric, there's a couple of reasons, and this is actually pretty common when you're interviewing for a position and it got filled. Oftentimes, big companies have a lot of internal referral, right? Internal referral, and part of my job is to make sure to teach you all how to brand yourself better to get ahead of the referral or the internal applicant tracking system. I would say if the position is filled, I would still connect with the recruiter and see if there is another fit within Amazon that's relevant to your background. Another thing that I would do is just use some of the networking skill that I've talked about. I think that video is called Job Search Using LinkedIn or Networking on LinkedIn. It's in my LinkedIn playlist. I talked a bit about how to search through executive who are level or 2 above you and how to network with them and see what you can do to get your foot in the door. Okay? If you can't get through the recruiter, sometimes you don't really need to. You could also reach out to people who are already in the team and see if they could be a mentor to you. Okay, this video or this live is not about networking or social, but I will do this again to teach individuals how to pick mentor or networking so that you can connect with the right people. Okay, and we can talk more about that, Eric. Hey, Sarah. Sarah says, thanks a lot. Good vibe. Oh, thank you. I'm actually really nervous right now. If you guys can tell, I'm sweating because my child is pulling my leg. I'm like, oop, go away for a second, please. Okay. Not always we can provide numbers of support to our story. How can we transfer for analytical approach in this way? That's an excellent answer. Let me close this here. It's an excellent answer. That's why I would always recommend you guys to put everything from your brain on a piece of paper. Notice I said on a piece of paper and not typing, because when you type things, you just don't put it into memory as much as you're writing it out. I know it's very manual, but it had helped all of my clients, okay? So when you do that, you have to use methodology where you actually think big and dive deep in your example. You can't just go from here's a problem and here's I solved it, but how did you do it? The how part is really big in you passing the interview, okay? So you need to be able to tell a story enough. I call it a little, just hook the interviewer in and let them ask you probing questions. You don't need to tell them everything, which is why I've recommended earlier to just put one sentence. What are you talking about? What's the situation? The task is what problem you're trying to solve. Just tell them the problem, right? Okay, what is your action plan? What did you do? How did you do it? All right, here's a result. Boom, 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 boom. And if you follow that very clearly, if you find yourself writing more than 2 sentences per each one of them, you know it's too lengthy. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions, Sarah. Okay. Hey, name 7777 and 77. I've been in a telephone interview. I thought that I would receive behavioral questions, but it went to 45-minute tech questions, which were out of my area of expertise. How do you suggest? That's good. That's very common. So are you a software engineer? Normally, and this is a great way because phone interview is about 45 minutes an hour for the interviewer to also not waste your time, right? Having you come in and have a full day of on-site interview with any company, they want to see if you can code or if you have the technical criteria that the company's looking for. If you don't, then they don't want to waste your time either. So it's very common that if you're an engineer, a technical program manager, anything with the word technical in front or engineering, you know you're going to get technical questions. If you are a technical program manager, technical product manager, there's going to be systems architecture questions or system design questions over the phone. If you're an engineer, normally you have to solve a problem by coding or data structure and algorithm, okay? They want to know if you can understand the foundation of that environment. And if you don't have the experience or can't answer it, you just have to be honest and let them know. Good? Luciana says, I asked, but they didn't provide any. I didn't think about recording it myself to hear the communication. Great, you're welcome. It's okay. I mean, a recruiter's job, and they're taught and trained to not give information. I do because I care about my candidates. I can't tell them exactly who was saying what to you, but I will absolutely tell you if I were to interview you and I feel like you're lacking your experience with either closing skills or client management, I will tell you that. Because if I don't, you're just going to be in the dark and won't be able to get the job that you want, okay? I mean, I think the recruiter just need to be a little creative. Anyway, carry on. Jose, hey Jose, how are you? I had a very good Amazon development manager interviewed. From my point, I was prepared. However, I was rejected. How long is expected to wait before reapplying again? For all position at Amazon, generally, even though they say 6 months, what they really meant is at least a year, because oftentimes your skill can't really improve in a couple of months or 6 months, right? And it's also depending on your feedback. If you're lacking the people management experience, normally, yeah, a year. right? But if you're in the same position, in the same role, then how Amazon or other company may view it is that you haven't really grown that much if you're doing the same thing, right? So if Amazon is a company that you truly want to get in, either if it's technical part for a development manager at Amazon, you would do code review, right? You would have to pass the system part of the interview. If you're lacking that part, then I would say try to look at opportunity in your current environment and gain those skills before re-interviewing, okay? And also the recruiters can read your feedback, right? They know why you were rejected the first time. So you want to make sure that when you reapply, you're ready to go, okay? And without knowing too much about it, that would be the best answer I could give you, okay? Make sure you gain the skill that was lacking. Hey, Sarah, I'm not sure if this is the same or different Sarah, but hey, Sarah. Does the hiring manager and recruiters have visibility on phone results? Yes, they do. Hang on one second here. The hiring oh, that is weird. Do you guys hear that? Huh, that is really weird. I don't know where that noise is coming from. Okay, yes, everyone in your interview panel or loop has visibility to your phone screen, your coding assessment. If you are a people manager or interviewing for a level 6 and above senior position, your writing example, everyone have access to it and they will review that. Again, this is for all companies, okay? I don't want Amazon to think that I'm jumping on here and claiming credit and giving advices just for Amazon. This is for all employers, okay? Hey, Anlu, you came back for me. Hey, Sanjit. Another question from 10 Sevens. I'm going to call you 10 Sevens. That's your nickname for me. I have another phone interview for the same position next week. Really? With another department, do you think that they come with only technical question? Well, if I were you, because you already have the first phone screen, I would challenge the recruiter and see what other way he or she can prep you for the next phone screen to make sure that you're prepping for the right thing. Okay? Normally, phone screen is technical. Again, please list down the role that you're applying for so I know what position that you're interviewing for. Okay? Phone screen generally is they need to make sure that you could do the job, bring you in to evaluate you further. Okay? Hassan says, what is level 1 software engineer? Level 1 is an SDE1. SDE1 are generally new grads or junior candidates. Okay? And he says, I've been waiting for you to come live. Please guide me about level 1 software engineer. Okay. Level 1 is just a junior software engineer. Are you preparing for your job interview? If you are, leave me a comment and let me know. Do you have an interview already scheduled, right? For level 1 or junior engineer, you need to, they don't expect you to solve a coding challenge problem. Usually it's data structure, as I mentioned earlier. Data structure, system design, basically the full stack, but they do expect to give you hint and walk you through. They do expect that there may come a time that they will be holding your hand to walk you through, but in the end, for you to get a job at Amazon or any company, you have to solve the problem, okay? So the best tip I can give you, Hassan, is if you don't or can't solve the problem, ask probing questions to understand. And once you have that down, make sure you test your code before you tell the interviewer that you've completed, okay? And they're very nice. They will give you a hint and walk you through. Hey, tequila and tacos. Oh my God, you're so funny. My big supporter. Okay. How long does it take you to go to level? And this is from Hassan again. Well, it really depends on how well you do and how you perform in any company, right? Promotion doesn't come lightly, right? I can't just only talk about Amazon. Generally, I've seen professional getting promoted anywhere between 2 years to 3 years, depending on their position and what they have done. It's all about your performance, okay? Redditor. Hey, Redditor. You said interview tip focus on BI engineer. Actually, there's a lot of interview questions on Glassdoor. go to Glassdoor.com, right? Put Amazon, click on interviewed, and click on interview question. And I know I've seen BI engineer on there because I've literally done this last week. Okay. And again, I talked a lot about don't focus so much on what type of questions, because the questions the interviewer will be asking you guys are all from your resume. Okay. So they're not going to ask you something that you've never done before. It's everything that you have. That's why I can't stress enough that you need to understand your background, your achievement, where you failed, where you went above and beyond for your customers, and at the end, why Amazon? Why are you looking for a change, right? You have to be able to answer all of that. I know it sounds really vague, but that's really the common questions that a lot of the companies are asking you, okay? All right. Hey, Anlu, welcome back. Do you have any tips on keeping your concentration during the entire interview pool? It's hard to stay focused when you're under the spot for more than 4 hours. Actually, 4 or 5 hours is very good. When I first joined Amazon 8-9 years ago, it was about 10 hours, even like 11 hours. So that has been cut down and trimmed down, okay? I believe, you know, for someone with a recruiting background, right? And I've done a lot of interviews with thousands of people, right? If you show excitement and enthusiasm, it will go by really fast, okay? For instance, if you prepare your story and you're ready to go, you just want to, you know, ace all of those interviewers. So when you go in, talk to yourself. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go in there. I'm going to get the job. I don't care who's coming on to interview me, and I'm ready. My question's ready. I have my story ready to go, and that will bring that you'll be awake and alive as the interviewers are coming in. But however, if you're not ready for the interview and you're very nervous, most of the time it's going to show over video conference because they have nothing. They can't stare at the wall or, you know, look at their phone or anything. They have to look at you in the camera. Okay, so make sure that you're prepared. The more prepared you are, the more focused you will stay. And drink lots of coffee if you're a coffee drinker. At least that's what I do. Okay? Okay. Okay, 7 to the 10 plower says, tell me about time when your team members, include your manager, went on the opposite side. I really don't have any reply. If you don't have an experience about a time, basically, let me re-ask the questions, right? If you don't have an example where your team members or your managers are not on the same page, basically the question is, tell me a time when you're not on the same page in the workplace. If you don't have that with your team or your manager, what about cross-functional team? What about your internal customer or external customer, okay? You have to think of a story. Sometimes you may not think that it is a situation where you're not on the same page. Think of a time, what you've done to convince them, right? Why is that persuasion so hard for you to change their mind, okay? And how did they end up? They don't have to tell you that, you know, we're not on the same page. You don't have to wait to that extent, but just think about a time when you try to convince someone of your idea or your project execution, whatever that may be. Think of that time and use that as an example, okay? Interview tip focus on software engineer with 3-year experience. Amron says, can you please come down with your coaching price? Guys, I have a weekly coaching and it is 50% off right now. And it's live coaching like this over Zoom where I can see your face, you can see my face, and we are doing live mock interview specifically for your position and a company you interview for. And I usually stay on until everyone gets a turn. And that's actually an extremely reasonable price because of the pandemic, okay? And I want you all to understand, even though this is my full-time job, my full-time business, I am trying to do everything I can, even coming in live. Normally I would hire a nanny to watch my son. Again, I mentioned this is my actual job and business. If I can think of any other way to give back and over deliver to all of the job seeker, I would absolutely do that. But for me to take private coaching, as you can see, just the amount of people that show up, I'm very grateful for you guys, by the way. I have a couple hundred messages every single week, and it is impossible for me to jump on with even 50 people a week, an hour each to help you guys, okay? That's a lot of nanny fee as well. Okay, so take a look at my group coaching and let me know your thoughts and what you think about that. I don't want to use this live stream to promote what I do, but I am actually reading the messages right now, and some of you guys are interested. So you may want to consider group coaching rather than private coaching. Okay, and you're actually getting the same thing, but in a smaller group setting. Okay, sound good? Okay. Kanika, hello, how are you? Interview tip focus on software engineer with 3 years experience. Sounds like an SDU1. I've mentioned this a little bit earlier. Know your CS fundamental very well, and that's like the main tip that I'm giving you, right? Some of the questions that may happen would be like knowing your binary tree, your mapping. Absolutely, data structure and algorithm is a must. Okay, so study those. Think about the time that you got your CS degree, your CS fundamental. You have to know that. Okay, you don't have to solve the problem right away, but you can ask a lot of questions, and the interviewer will give you hints. Okay. Hey, Sweaty, how are you? Hi, Pankaj. Pankaj says, I am scheduled to interview for an L7 is a senior manager or principal. It's very high level at Amazon. So an L7 at Amazon would be, sorry, I can't tell. It would be equivalent to like a director at a Facebook or an Amazon. I'm sorry, a Microsoft. I need to get Amazon out of my head, okay? So the bar is very high for a 7. What's the best way to remember example relating to leadership principle? Create a document with using STAR. Or just too many to remember? That's a really good question. I recently helped a senior leader from Microsoft got a position at Amazon as a senior leader, and the tip I gave him is don't waste your time into being so fixated on the questions. Just spend your time in creating your story is your background, right? Let me give you an example. If I were to ask you right now, Punkhead, give me an example of a project that you're most proud of as a leader. Why is that project so significant for you? As simple as that, right? And here's how you create your story. Think about the project. What's the project? If you're stuck, okay, what's the name of the project? What is the situation? What problem are you trying to solve? So when you guys are carving your story, think about the largest problem that you've solved. Amazon is a giant company, okay? If you're going to give an example of, for example, how you, I don't know, you fix a bug in a system or, you know, something really on a lower level, then it's probably not a good fit as a leader, right? If I were you, I would think about an example where you leverage or the scope involves like international or global, because that's Amazon, right? You want to think large scale every time when you create an example for Amazon, okay? And creating the document, what Pankaj mean about creating a document with example using the STAR is all people manager have to do a writing exercise as well. It's very simple. You just have to do exactly what I just said. I would encourage you to look at the STAR methods video again and again and again and rewrite your message again and again and again. And once you rewrite it, record yourself, right? You don't have to wait until you're in an interview to record yourself. Just use your phone, right? And speak out loud. Evaluate yourself. What does that sound like? Does it make sense? Would you hire yourself as a senior leader at Amazon if you give that response? And if your answer is no, what could you do to make it better? Okay? Ali. Hey, Ali, how are you? Ali says, what type of deep dive questions would be asked for a technical recruiter role? For technical recruiter role, well, you're asking the right person. I'm going to assume that you have already looked at my Think Big and Dive Deep. So the leadership principle questions that I have used, you could use that for all role. It's not specifically, right? It's not even vague. It's just that when an interviewer asks you a question, they want to see if they understand you and do you have enough information to showcase what you've done. For me, if I'm interviewing you for dive deep questions as a recruiter role, I would say, how do you measure your success as a technical recruiter, and what do you measure yourself by? That would be my question. And that's actually a question that I've asked when I build out my team, right? I can also ask you about most recruiting manager will ask you about number, how many hires you made. I feel like that's really basic. So I want to dive deeper in knowing your process, and also what does success look like to you, and how do you measure your own success, and what does it take for you to get there? Because what is successful to you and what is relevant to the Amazon environment, it's completely different, okay? Because at Amazon, the recruiters are very high volume, but they dive really deep into Boolean searches, and they spend a lot of time on the phone. I know a lot of the companies are doing it too, but the bar is high because you're also doing project executions and recruiting events and a little bit of everything. If you have had experience doing that, I would love to hear an example where you have put a recruiting event on social networking together to build your pipeline, and what does that data look like? What's the data that you're trying to show me? Okay, that's diving deep and thinking big. Ownership, insist on high standard, and also customer obsession and delivering result. That's everything, right? I'm just giving you an example. You don't have to worry about what questions. The way you answer will hit most, if not all, of the leadership principle. Okay? Sapajit, hey Sapajit. Sapajit says, hang on a second. I gave Amazon program manager interview on the 20th of April, sent a follow-up email to the recruiter on 24th requesting an update, but not received. Wow, that's pretty uncommon because Amazon has a 2 to 5 rule, at least when I was there about a year and a half ago, meaning every 2 days they will reach out to you and give you feedback. The recruiter could be on vacation for all we know. I'm pretty sure the recruiter got your email. I would just give his or her a chance to respond to you now that you follow up with this individual a couple times, okay? Most likely, if they haven't gone back to you, is because they haven't debriefed yet. I'm looking at the date here. Sometimes it takes more than 4 days for them to get into a room and evaluate the feedback, okay? It may take up to a week, okay? Nupur, hey Nupur, you're welcome. Okay, Nupur asks, what should the average time spent answering story situation before the follow-up question? For any position, I recommend a minute or less, okay? And I think I answered these questions earlier for someone else. And, 7 to the power of 10. You have some really good question. My second telephone interview for solution architect role, what question may come for? I write a lot on frugality. To be honest with you, of the 6 years or so I was with Amazon, it's really rare for me to see frugality questions being asked. It's very rare. I haven't even experienced that. The type of questions with frugality would be, and also everything that I'm telling you, you can find that, just go to google.com and put Amazon Leadership Principle. You'll have the whole list, okay? And you'll even be able to find questions as well. Frugality could be, and the questions that I would ask if I'm interviewing you for solution architect, I would say, well, if you see an issue with the technology that you're trying to build and that need enhancement, and you're asking for budget to be approved in order to use certain, programs or solutions, how would you determine what budget is right for the work that you will be delivering, right? And a good answer for frugality is just a way for you to save the company's money, but if you have a very good or legitimate reason that is that will benefit the customer because it's Amazon, right? That you can get your work done to be more effective and efficient, then that would be a good answer. So think about how you want to spend that money to save the company's fund. But if it is to the cost of the customer, Amazon have no shy in spending the fund. Okay, I know this because I've asked for a lot in building my team to execute. Okay. And a write a lot is just persuasion. When I think about a write a lot, it's just a time where you wanted to persuade to get the outcome that you're looking for, but they may not be on the same page as you. So what could you do to convince them to be on the same page? And what if there is a time where they just don't buy it, and you have to bite your tongue, swallow your pride, and just go with it, right? That's what a write a lot is. I don't think I have a video on that yet. And the reason why I don't have that is because I feel like all the other 8s are more important, okay? And I feel like a write a lot is also very similar to tell me a time where, things didn't go well. What was the situation and what happened? Or tell me a time where you don't agree with your manager or your peer, where you don't see eye to eye. I feel like a lot of that question could be circled around a write a lot. So I don't want to waste your time or mine in putting out video when they're very similar to one another. Okay? Ann Lu says, what are some of the good questions to ask the recruiter during the prep call? Well, the recruiter, some good recruiter, you can tell which one's really good, right? You don't even have to ask them. They will give you all the materials to prep for your phone interview. But some of the good question asking the recruiter is, can you tell me if this position is a backfill or is a new role? Can you give me exposure to the technical environment? Most of the time, a recruiter should know because they have a really good partnership with the hiring manager and the team, right? Even, is there anything that you could share more about this role or the hiring manager, what his or her expectations are? Okay, so ask yourself what you want to know to prep you for your next round, which is a technical phone screen with the business or one of your future peer, most likely. Okay. Rolo says, I've been contacted by Amazon Europe Top Talent. What is that? Top talent recruiter, and was told my profile would be a match against many opportunities. Do you have any insight to this process and how best to tailor CV? When you say Europe Top Talent, are we talking about staffing agencies? When you're asking the best way to tailor your CV, which is resume, I actually have a resume hack. Download that. It's halsey.com/freebie. You don't even have to subscribe. It's all free. Okay. I have a template and I also have a video. It's called What Recruiters Look For in a Resume. Okay. You need your resume to look like the role that you want to get in. So obviously you need to talk about the position that you have filled, right? What are the technologies that you are comfortable with, right? For example, in my case, it would be hardware, software engineering, AR, VR, consumer electronics, devices. So those are my buzzword because a lot of my background are handheld devices, like from the Amazon, the Google, and the Facebook. It's all handheld and consumer devices. So your niche, what are you looking for? And those buzzwords have to be on there, okay? That's my son wanting to say hi. Hey, Derek. Hey, Derek, how are you? I think we're meeting for the first time. Hey. I have my final virtual interview for L6 p.m. planning position. The interview is supposed to last all day. Could you provide an overview of what that would entail? Sure. And this is really common for L6 position. It's a good thing because they want to make sure that you are hitting the bar as an L6. Again, I am not being biased, okay? Having worked at Amazon and other big corporation, I know that their bar, let me give you an example what I mean by their bar. A level 6 at Amazon is doing the work of a level 7 or 8 at other big companies, okay? So the work that you're doing is a lot more complex. That's why they have anywhere between 5 to 6 interviewer. Each interviewer is about 45 to an hour. Generally, it's about 45 in the last 15 minutes for you to ask questions. And again, everything that they're asking you is based on your resume. Okay, I actually did a tutorial on how you can pull up the type of questions for PM in my LinkedIn, the Power of LinkedIn playlist. It is called, I believe it is called, I only have like 3 videos. I believe it's called Job Search on LinkedIn, or Job Search Networking on LinkedIn, where you go in and you can find the exact questions that Amazon asked their PM. Okay, so 5 to 6 interviewer, about an hour-ish or so, wanting to know more about you. So should be fun. Okay, MJK. MJK says, I'm in my final round of supply chain manager role, virtual onsite. Please let me know some specific focus area and what topics to ask questions from. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, the type of questions that you should be asking, be very mindful of the interviewer's background, right? Obviously, the type of question you'll be asking another supply chain manager versus your peer and versus like the bar racer are different, okay? Ask questions. I don't want to tell you exactly what to ask, because when the time comes, I want you to get the job for you, not you to get the job from doing exactly what I say, okay? But if I were you, I would want to learn more about the expectation, again, from the hiring manager. And I would love to see how my peers would partner for someone like me as a manager in a supply chain. And some of the great questions to ask your hiring manager or the bar raiser, if the bar raiser come from a supply chain or operation background, usually they do. I would say, can you share more about the operation org from your time of being here? What would it take for someone new coming in the leadership role that would be successful for supply chain? Okay, those are some of the common questions that the interviewers would be interested to see if you've done some homework and are you curious, right? Your questions have to lead them to think, okay, this person really care about the environment and want to know exactly what he or she is getting into, okay? One of the things to avoid, I actually have a video that I was in the middle of making before my nanny called in sick today. It is why Amazon, and I will release that video this Friday. Okay, so make sure you guys check that out. And I'll talk about what to avoid and what questions to ask as well. Okay? Sanjit says, for the first round, I did video interviewed, not live. And my longest answer was 1 minute and 30 seconds. 3 of the 5 was 50 seconds, and they were a completed star. It is possible. I'm so happy to hear that from you. Yes, good job. If you know your stuff, if you know your branding and who you are really well, it's a piece of cake answering a question within a minute or less. Okay? You just got to practice. There's a lot of program manager here. Wow. I usually get a lot of engineers. Sapajit says, I had phone interview for a PM role and haven't heard back. I applied for another PM role and got rejected email. Have I failed the previous interview? I would say probably yes. First of all, again, it's not just for Amazon, for any company. If you apply for the same position and failed or never heard back, do not apply to another position. Okay? Let's just say that you did really well on the first phone screen and the recruiter and the business just haven't had the chance to come around for whatever reason that may be with the candidate experience, right? And I'm very big with candidate experience, so it does make me feel a little iffy in this process. They could be overwhelmed for some reason, but let's just assume that you do well, okay? The hiring managers and the recruiter will start questioning, why are you applying to other positions when we haven't been giving you the feedback yet? Okay, so I wouldn't do that. And if you didn't do well, you're not going to do well in a different role anyway, because they could see the feedback. Okay, when you apply for multiple positions in all the employers, that recruiter can see your feedback and how many jobs you have applied to. If I were you, I will send another follow-up email with the recruiter, and just to say, since you haven't heard back, if they can give you some indication of how the interview went. Okay? I would be really surprised if Amazon Recruiter doesn't get back to you. Right? Hey, Sun. Sun says, I believe I will have a round with the bar raiser, that full behavior question. Of course you do. All of the interview includes a bar raiser unless you're a new grad or you're a level 1 junior candidates. And although that may change since it's been a year and a half when I was last at Amazon. How many stories should I expect to prepare for this round? Should I keep all the best for this round? No. Okay. Listen, guys, when you create your story, bar raiser or not, it's just another human, just like you and I, asking you questions, right? Make sure, again, have your story in back of your pocket when you take it out. The bar raiser usually will ask you questions relating to having backbone, disagree, and commit. They can ask you, of course, depending on how you answer it, bias for action, or think big and dive deep. Those are the common one. Don't think about saving your best answer for anyone at all. Know your background well. And once you do, take it out and give it to the interviewer, like playing ping pong, okay? Make sure you prepped well and be ready for it. And I know I mentioned this before. If you guys don't feel like you're ready for the interview, I would postpone it. And trust me, the role will always be there because it's Amazon. They're always hiring, okay? Nepal says, what technical questions should I expect for BA role? For business analysts, normally there's not a whole lot of technical questions. The only technical question is, what software or program do you use for your work to complete your task, right? And at Amazon, I don't know, I think at one point they were using Oracle or Tableau or something along that line, just an example. So you just, again, it has to be coming from your background, what program or application you've used as an analyst, okay? That's probably the only technical part that I could think of. My HR says second round will only be behavioral questions. Would they go for technical in the loop? I mean, again, I don't imagine there to be technical question for any of the business analysts, a business role that are non-tech related, okay? You're welcome, Eric. And Sung, good luck on your interview in 2 days. Sweetie says, once I answer the questions, how many follow-up questions do I foresee from a recruiter? Well, you shouldn't even have to think about that, right? Again, you just have to understand you and what you can bring on the table. And if they're asking you a probing question, it's not a bad thing. That means they're being engaged, okay? So I can't tell you how many questions a recruiter or someone's going to answer you. It's just a matter of you having a good experience with them and making sure that both of you guys are engaged. This is a funny questions right here. Sung says, what can help me impress the bar raiser? I feel like, who's interested in me making a video on bar raiser? If you do, just give me a thumbs up on the chat. I'm gonna make a video to talk about the bar raiser that's coming up in the next 2 weeks, okay? You don't need to impress, the way how you would think about impressing the bar raiser, you need to impress the entire loop. Even if the bar raiser wants inclined to hire you and the hiring manager says no, or one of your future peer or anything, you're not gonna get the job, okay? For you guys to get a job at Amazon or any company, everyone has to say thumbs up. Even initially, they put their thumbs down. The job of having a debrief, and this is for all company, including startups. It's not even tech, even non-tech. Everyone have to be on the same page that you are a good fit for that team, specifically the role, but more importantly, are you a good culture fit and a good fit for the organization, okay? So don't think, you guys are stressing yourself out over the bar raiser. The bar raiser is just, someone who interviewed that's not from your team, okay? And I'll talk more about that in one of my upcoming videos. Here's a good question from Derek. Derek says, I'm interviewing for a PM planning position that involves operational and technical component. Excellent question. What do I need to study besides leadership principle? Well, in this case, you need to know your technical component really well, right? Know, like in the operation environment, know your environment well and be able to articulate. In the end is what you have done. I don't want to say what machine, what application were you running or your team is. Like how do you set up the operation for your environment that's relevant to Amazon, okay? So when you're giving an answer, make sure you articulate very clearly and it is relevant to how Amazon does things, okay? Again, think about the highest level of achievement that you do. Think before you speak is what I'm trying to tell you, okay? And speak with your background. And if you don't have that, in your resume, most likely they're not going to ask you those questions. Okay. For example, if you put down that you were planning and you are working in like a fulfillment center as a planner, if you put that in your resume, you better bet they're going to ask you to dive really deep on what kind of planning have you done specifically for fulfillment. How do you execute, right? Remember, the how is really big, more important than what you've delivered. Okay, the how tells a story. Okay. Sweetie says, how is a loop interview designed? Like time each interviewer is a lot. The loop, it's a good question. The loop is designed with different leadership principle in knowing more about your background, right? For example, as you know, on the recruiting side, I would have one person wanting to know if you actually have the technical background. Do you understand what software engineer is? Do you know what a full stack engineer is? Walk me through, give me the top 5 operating system. That's a recruiter, that's a technical recruiter interview, right? You have to know that because how are you supposed to find great engineers for Amazon or ABC company if you don't know the technical component? And I would say, what is, and another person would ask you questions about your client engagement or management, right? And that could also be like a PM or non-tech position, a product manager as well, or maybe it could be a software engineer as well. So each interviewer is designed to ask you different area of what the requirement is for that specific role from the hiring manager, okay? I think you guys got this. Like I said, the more you know about your background, you guys will kill this interview, okay? D787 sounds like 737. And you said, I have an interview coming up next week for continuous improvement position. I'm preparing for the loop interview. What can I expect about the bar raiser? I think I've already answered these questions. The bar raiser is just going to ask you questions that are pretty similar like everybody else. So you shouldn't be taken back just because it's a bar raiser. And again, a BR is someone who is not going to be in your org if you get the job. That's really it, okay? So don't overthink too much of the BR. Is the loop for an L4 intense? Well, I like to say that the interview for all level at Amazon, I wouldn't call it intense. I would say that Amazon has one of the best interview loop constructed. And I can say this very proudly because they know what they're looking for and they're designing the loop, the people that have experience interviewing to make sure that they hire professionals that meets 50% or better than 50% of the current workforce, okay? And that's big. A lot of the companies, they don't think about that. So I don't think it's tense. I think they're just looking for someone that's a right fit, technically and also non-technically as a culture fit, okay? Hi, Morello. Morello says, how easy is it to get a return offer full-time at the end of the internship? To be honest with you, I have no experience with intern and new grad. I do know what I can tell you coming from Google, and I know they hire a lot of internship and Amazon as well. If you perform well and you're very curious to learn with the right aptitude, not really your technical experience, right? Because it's your first intern. They don't expect that. I think with the right aptitude and your willingness to collaborate and build great relationship with the people you work with, your likelihood of getting converted is much higher. Okay? And that's even going for how do you become how do you go from a contractor to full time of any position at Amazon? It's the same theory. Oh, thank you, Ali. Steve says, suggestions on which of your video to watch and areas to concentrate on to prepare for entering the interview process for a TAM role. A TAM stands for Talent Acquisition Manager, or it's called a recruiting manager. The best advice I can give you is check out my Amazon Leadership Principle playlist. On top of that, look at my 60-second elevator pitch and my STAR methods, okay? If I were to recommend anything to all of you guys who's watching today, the STAR method and 60-second are back to back. When I work with my clients in my group setting or one-on-one, they don't realize the power of those two videos and how they can correlate with one another until our sessions start, because it makes a lot of sense. You need to know your story and you need to cut it short and get to the point, okay? And you need to know my top 8 leadership principles, because all of those will be asked during the interview. And again, use the tactics to get jobs with Amazon and also other companies as well, because I want you guys to land the right gig, okay? Emery. Hey, Emery. Emery says, could you talk about QA engineer role in the interview process at Amazon? I will have an interview within the next week. Sure. So QA, in other companies, a QA doesn't really have to code as much. At Amazon, I have seen a lot of the QA coding using Python or Java as a QA engineer. There will be problem solving, which means you are going to use one of your best scripting or coding languages. And of course, you are going to write test cases, and test scenario is a must for QA engineer interview, okay? And the rest are behavioral questions. I have to share this with you guys. Thank you, Emery. You just reminded me of something pretty cool. My customer had asked me about the STAR. You know, do I need to use the STAR fundamental to answer technical question? Absolutely. Let me give you guys an example, okay? If I'm trying to solve a problem, let's just say I'm trying to create, not a problem, I'm trying to create test cases or test scenario, right? Well, first of all, I need to create the situation. What am I trying to talk about? Let me talk, what are the problems I'm trying to solve? Okay, how am I gonna solve this problem? And what is the result? And that's a STAR, okay? The STAR is not just for behavioral questions, but it's helping you critically organize your thought so that you could have a good outcome of answer, okay? Amazon did not taught me what I just said, but Amazon did use a lot of the STAR scenario with a lot of papers, writing proposal and paper, and that's where I have gained a lot of that experience too. In fact, even with the interview process, and I've taught for quite a few years at Amazon making great hiring decisions, I do talk about the STAR methods and peeling the onions and whatnot, but not so much on an interview setting like this. But as a career coach, I have to sit back and think of what I could possibly do to add value to all of you guys, not waste your time in watching videos that are not relevant, and what are the most important one, right? After making 30 of them, now I know what I want to put in front of you guys, okay? So the STAR is really powerful. You know, you have to put that behind your head. And each time when you answer a question, just think about the process it takes to get there. Okay? Hey, In. What's going on, In? Okay, guys, I have no more than 10 minutes, so I'm trying to move this as quickly as I can. Okay? In says, I apply for an area manager role with 6 years of retail operation experience. Which leadership principle should I focus on the highlight? I would say all the ones that I already have a video on. Okay? And I have questions on there as well. Answer that and create your stories. Jessica Lopez. Jessica Lopez says, what about a supply chain position role? What questions can we expect? I would say all the questions is around operation, obviously. And there is so many interview questions relating to operation, supply chain, area manager on Glassdoor. I literally just did this yesterday with one of my clients. Okay, so go in there, play around with it. Send me a message on LinkedIn. Let me know how that goes. Okay. Okay. And Hermantha, hey Hermantha, I'm having a phone interview for a senior TPM, and L5 is TPM. Senior is L6, by the way. I'm wondering what leadership principle will be focused. It will be all the one that I just mentioned, okay? Check out my playlist because all of those will be mentioned. I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of questions around how you deliver results and customer obsession because you're a TPM. How do you collaborate and who are your key partner that you work with, which is in this case, and engineers, right? I know that the TPM and Amazon collaborate very closely with UI UX designers and engineers, okay? And again, for TPM, there's tons of questions on Glassdoor as well. I have to share this one. And Lou says, I can't believe I'll be interviewing for a lot. That is like a lot for anyone's mind. Are you sure about this? Oh my God, that's crazy. Oh, you must be responding to what I mentioned earlier. Yeah, I mean, company, you should do that a long time ago. Okay, hey Vinit. Vinit says, I'm a PM, recently received a LinkedIn message from Amazon recruiter who showed interest in my profile for tech program manager role, which is TPM. What is an ideal resume length to send her? Generally, I would advise everybody to keep your resume to one page. If you have a lot of experience and you're a senior professional, you can go to 2 pages, but do not go more than 2 pages on a resume. I get a lot of questions and, why don't I have more video on resume writing? The reason why I don't do that, I feel like the limited amount of time I have, I'd rather talk about interview prep and helping you guys get a job because obviously the recruiter had already reached out to you, right? But if you're interested in a resume review live like this, leave me a comment below. I'll take a look at all of that later on this evening. And I could certainly do one just like this, sharing my screen and looking at your resume, critiquing it and giving you advice, okay? Oh, great question, Han. Han says, is there a difference between normal interview and higher event interview in Amazon? Yes, absolutely. Normal interview is anywhere, usually it's about 5 loops, 5 or 6, plus 5 or 6 including the bar raiser. Interviewing event usually is in volume, right? They typically interview anywhere between 5 to even 20 people a day with a lot of interviewer, and they mix interviewer with different candidates. The organization that's doing that, coming from a retail org, at one point we were hiring like crazy. It was all recruiting event, traveling the world and getting 20 to 50 interview in the full week and interviewing literally for us interviewer 12-hour day, right? Because we have to debrief. The biggest difference is that they do debrief a lot quicker because it's an interviewing event. They need to make hire quickly, and that also tells you that Amazon is building something pretty cool that needs to go live. So they need to get back with the people who have met the requirement and move them forward for a start date. Okay, that's a difference. Sombi says, I had my second interview with the hiring manager sorry, my kid says hi, for an inside sales job. He asked what solution would I give the customer. That's a good question. I give him EC2, but I think I should have said anything. What do you mean by that? I think when you give an example of EC2, that's actually a very good opening. Okay, I would need to know a little bit more of what you've said there. You're welcome. 7 to the power of 10. Jessica says, what about SQL? I'm not familiar with this. How can we answer this question? Well, here's advice I would give you for any interview with anyone, okay? If you don't have the experience with any data languages or databases, just tell the interviewer, okay? A recruiter, what they should have done upfront to not waste your time is to make sure they prep you, meaning First is a technical phone interview. Typically, the type of questions are technical, boom, 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 and they should prep you for the on-site so you are more comfortable with what type of technical question that will be coming at you. Okay, because it will be embarrassing even as a recruiter. If it was me and I never prepped my candidate and the feedback is all thumbs down because you don't know SQL or SQL servers or you can't code if the position require and I put you through the whole loop, it doesn't look good. Okay, so if you don't know something, make sure you tell the interviewer that you don't know. But if you are only in the beginning phase and you're being prepped for a technical phone interview or on-site, make sure you press on the recruiter to see what else you could do to practice and prepare for your interview. Okay? How will interview be different for software engineer when it is tech? Or is it for a specific team? I think software engineer for tech is the same. It doesn't really matter what team you are in, right? As mentioned earlier, you need to know your CS fundamental very well in solving problem. To get a software engineering job, you have to be full stack. When I say full stack, I meant data structure, algorithm, binary tree, mapping, object-oriented design, object-oriented analysis, system architecture. So the software engineer at Amazon does all of that, which is why if you are even a junior or an SD2 or L5 mid-level at Amazon, you would be a senior at like a Microsoft, okay? Because the technical bar is much higher, or any bar is higher in Amazon. Hey, Hanny, how are you? Thanks a lot. I make it to the second interview with Amazon. Also subscribe to your page fund. Whoop, whoop, hey! I'm so happy. Thank you for supporting me. We'll buzz you soon. Okay, if you have any questions, Hanny, just drop it in the Patreon and I'll send you a personal message, okay? Okay, dun, 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 dun. Let me see if I'm missing anyone else's question before I let you guys go. Okay, yes, I will be making a video on the BR. That will be coming soon. Okay? Okay. This one sounds pretty important. Vorsha says, thank you for doing this. I have an interview this week. Is it okay to use the same story a second time? No, never use the same story for your interview. Create new story, okay? You could use the same situation, but the way how you answer the question to solve the problem could be different. But don't use the exact same thing for your interviewer, okay? There's a lot of questions around the bar racer. As mentioned, don't think about the bar racer as someone that you should have a higher bar in answering. A bar racer is just like any interviewer that isn't from your team. Adil just gave me a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. My first super chat. Woohoo! Thank you. Much appreciated. Let's see here. And there's a lot of questions relating to supply chain and operation. So a lot of that is early on in this video. I had a phone interview today. Great job, Katrina. Adil says, I have 5 interviews scheduled for solution architect. I need some advice, please, specifically with why Amazon. You know what? Your wish is coming true. I'm actually working on a video that I am going to release this Friday. So your interview is on Thursday. Why Amazon is an area where you have to think about why you want to work for Amazon in that specific team, okay? The great thing is, without knowing too much about your background, you want to talk about what your added value is based on where your career trajectory is, why Amazon would help you move to the next level in your career. So what you do not want to ask is having to sound like everyone else. Do not say because Amazon is the fastest growing company, Amazon is the most innovative in the world, Amazon stock is doing well, because everybody is saying the same thing. So try to think of way where what you will be doing for Amazon that will bring you alive? And why are you passionate about the technology? Because why Amazon is not just all about Amazon, but if I were you, and without even looking at your resume or having any conversation with you, Adil, I would say, well, as you can see, I spent the last 10 years as an architect coming from an engineering background, completely making this up, by the way. I feel like where I am in my career right now is to work for an organization with an opportunity to solve even more complex problems. I feel like Amazon would be able to give that to me, which is why I'm interested in your role and I'm interested to learn more, Mr. Amazon. Okay? It would be something along that line. If you guys can't hear me, my kid, he's throwing eggs. Let me show you guys. He's throwing eggs at me, so I have to let you guys go. Adil, if we're not connecting on LinkedIn, make sure we do. And let me know if you have more questions on why Amazon. Okay? Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I will see you guys next Tuesday, okay? Take care and be well. Be safe as well.